Hi, this is Roland Rails. I'm going to show you today how to use Stimulus Reflex to reorder stuff, rearrange lists by dragging and dropping. So on one side, we're going to use the Acts as List gem. This will give us some methods to manipulate position. We can insert an item at a certain position. We can move it up, down. And on the other hand, we're going to use sortablejs to handle all the intricacies of the dragging and dropping on the client side. So first things first, we have our application already set up with Stimulus Reflex and some models, with an article model and offer model. The important thing is we are going to have a position thing here, an integer here. That is what access list is going to rely on to determine the position. So let's add access lists to our bundle. Yeah, it looks nice. And then we also want to add sortablejs on the JavaScript side. Okay, so we are going to use Stimulus Reflex. So we are going to create a reflex for us with the Rails generator. I'm going to call it position. I prefer this name over sortable because sortable for me is more like you have a table or some other thing that you can sort by certain attributes. But we are specifically wanting a specific position that you can manipulate directly. So this command will generate a reflex on one side, and on the other hand, it will create a stimulus controller. And that's what we're gonna start with. So we need here to import sortable from sortablejs, and then on our connect methods, this is when the stimulus controller gets attached. You want to attach the I want to enable the behavior of the sortable. So we are calling here sortable create, and then we pass in the stimulus controller element. And we can add some options. This we'll do later on. So let's check if this works. Of course it doesn't, because we still need to attach it. We need to attach a controller to this DOM element. So we are going to the offers index page. Here you have the unordered list of offers. This is the data controller position attribute that we need to hook this up. And now if we link this, you see this is happening. We can add an animation that will help a little bit to see better what is happening here. This is much smoother. Okay, so what we now, of course, don't have is these things, these positions don't get persisted on the server side. So we need to do something on drag end. So when the dragging is done, we want to hook up our own functions that we call this end, and we will bind this to it. And here we create our end function that receives an event, and then we can work on this. So we want to call a reflex to manipulate the position in the list. This we can do with this stimulate that is provided thanks to the hooking up and inheritance from the application controller. So we call this stimulate, and we want to call our position reflex insert at. What does insert at need? It needs to know the record. We can get this record from the event item. This is the item that is being dragged, and we will access it from the data set and make sure that it has a signed global ID available. Also, we need the new index, the new position, This here is 0 indexed, and access list works with the starting position of 1. So we need to add 1 here to make sure this is 1 refers to the right number in the other. Okay, so let's see what's happening now. If I drag and drop it now, we can see in the console it's calling a reflex. But it's complaining here there's undefined method insert at for the position reflex. This is fine, this is expected, because we didn't define what this insert at should mean. So we go to the position reflex, have an insert at. We are passing in, as I said, the signed global ID and the new position. So we accept those as params, as arguments, and then we have here, first we need to get the record. And this is the nice thing about global ID. We can just get global ID locator, locate the signed, and then we just need to pass in the SGID here. This should give us a record. And on the record, we want to call insert at and put in the new position. So this, let's see what happens now. If I try and drop it, I'm still getting an error here, which says undefined method on inserted at nil class. This is because it couldn't find a record here, because it's expecting this SGID, but that SGID is not currently sent, because on the offer we haven't actually provided anything. This is the element being dragged, and here we need to pass in the SGID. So this is the offer, and to SGID param is the method to generate my signed global ID that I can then use to retrieve the record. So let's see again. So it's still complaining. Now it's complaining it doesn't have a method insert at for the offer. This is because we haven't hooked up access list on the offer model yet. So we're gonna add access list here. Now it should work fine. Yes, wonderful. As you see, if I reload now, the order gets persisted. But what is the really nice thing about the solution, thanks to using signed global IDs and the stimulus controller that is not actually specific to the model, we can just reuse this stuff on another model. So we have this articles list here. So let's go to the articles index page. You see here we're rendering the articles. If I now attach the stimulus controller of position and I hook up in the articles partial, I hook up that we have the SGID, article to SGID param, and of course also we need on the article model, I need to tell it to use acts as list. Yeah, now it's working nicely. And as you see, we're only adding 3 things by adding the stimulus controller, the data attribute on the article, the signed global ID, and adding the acts as list. We can just enable this drag and drop behavior on any other model. So yeah, that's it. Thanks a lot.